very good morning to you all. Welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
Well, it's a beautiful Thursday morning here in Lagos, Nigeria. Welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Kayode Okikulu.
Yeah, so, this matter about doctors, it's been going on for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, everybody wants the solution. We all want to see how things turn out well. But this kind of conversation has happened before in terms of those doctors who are going for the interview, Saudi Arabia, recruiting Nigerian professionals, Nigerian doctors, and you could see them that there were just so many of them just going for that particular interview. Well, look, yeah, they do that. Doctors, everybody, time and again, they seek. Everybody wants things to be better, improvements in life, and things like that. But this particular one, many of them just kind of link it with the current situation as it's playing itself out. They just think, look, they've had it. And so they can't just keep up with the way things are going. And so that's why a lot of them, right there in Abuja, went for that particular interview by Saudi Arabia's health ministry. And reading some of the comments making the rounds, you just cannot but wonder, because look, we all know what's going on in Afghanistan. Yeah. Even Afghanistan, the Taliban says no. We need to stop the professionals from leaving here because they know the implication of that. How much more here?
This story has been on for a few days now, and thankfully our correspondent, Emperor Simon, you'd see that in a bit, went to capture just one of those centers, as it were. And I mean, reports are saying 500 doctors would leave at the end of the day for that particular process to Saudi Arabia in particular, according to reports. But that's the one we know. I mean, in fact, Saudi Arabia is not top on the list of countries that Nigerian doctors actually go to. You have the US, the UK, you have Canada, Australia, UAE. So imagine if 500 for Saudi Arabia. How about the other countries, the US, the UK, Canada? Some will say Canada is probably on top of that list as of today. Australia as well. So I imagine, so we have 72,000 registered doctors in Nigeria. 35,000 of them are said to be practicing. 16,000 of them are resident doctors. So if you take out 500, and I imagine for the other countries, perhaps more than 500, just how many doctors do we have left in Nigeria? It's a really sad one, honestly. I know that there's always that argument, especially from those concerned, the doctors, that, hey, I'm a professional, and any professional's desire is to practice in a conducive atmosphere and earn better. We're not even going to go into just the disparity in how much they earn over there compared to here, and not forget the process they have to go through, the exams, the heartbreaks, and the rest. But that aside, they'll tell you that it's only natural. We need to just aspire for better. But don't forget that even as of today, we have a huge deficit of doctors in Nigeria. So if these ones continue to leave, it appears as though they will keep leaving as it is right now. Yeah. Just what is the case, or what is going to be the fate of our healthcare sector?
Because, I mean, the head of a Medical Dental Consultants Association of Nigeria says, look, that if he says there are about 5,000 medical professionals, so if 500 consultants were to leave in just that one interview, it means they have recruited 10% of just Nigeria's consultant specialists, just like that. So even though the minister says it's a normal thing, and you wonder, well, does that then mean that everybody can? But if people pay careful attention, if you go to hospitals, medical institutions, there seems to be something going on there, because if those who are up there, the professional ones, have left, there's a vacuum. So people who are coming up will need time to ramp up and build up their expertise and professionalism before they can match up certain things. So that's why you could get to some pharmacies or get to some hospitals and certain things are going wrong. And that's why you see wrong prescriptions, because they don't know any better. They just have to. It's natural. You learn certain things from experience. Even though, yes, they keep reading, updating themselves as professionals, which is what they do, but you will always glean from certain things.
And imagine learning with the lives of people, right? I don't know. I recall asking, I think the head of NMA about the sense of urgency.
Oh yeah.
In those meetings, because if this is not an emergency, the healthcare sector, which is emergencies always, I wonder what is.
So it's huge. Yeah. It's something that the country needs to pay serious attention to, because I don't think any country wants the best hands, key professionals to keep leaving in droves. You then wonder, what are you then left with? Because even the doctors tell us, look, go to one or two of the West African countries here, the English-speaking one, they earn about $2,000, the lowest one. The lowest, he tells me. I checked again this morning, he said, and that is what it is. And so, but let's have you listen to this report. Our correspondent, Simon, did go around to get a feel of what really was going on there.
Medical doctors in various fields of medicine in Nigeria waiting for a job interview to work in Saudi Arabia. A long list of applicants has been taken, but many are still registering, not minding the long hours they have to wait after trying their luck the previous day. This exercise is taking place at a time when resident doctors have been at loggerheads with the government over their remunerations. For these applicants, the quest for the greener pastures is preferable to the present situation.
One needs to go and get some money to at least to lay hand on at old age.
We have to take care of our family. So in that case, whatever it takes to make life comfortable for you, you do.
A survey carried out by NOI Polls and the Nigeria Health Watch in 2017 shows 8 out of 10 doctors in Nigeria, representing 88% of medical doctors in the country, are considering working abroad, especially in the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, Australia and UAE, due to factors such as low work satisfaction, poor salaries and emoluments, huge knowledge gap that exists in the medical practice abroad, amongst others. These doctors who are currently being interviewed by the Saudi Arabian hiring agents say they feel frustrated working in Nigeria.
You could find out there are consultants here that have worked for over 20 years and they are here wanting to jet out. Why? Because they no longer see that air of hope.
If you are not frustrated as a medical doctor by now, that means you are part of the politicians.
Earlier in the month, the Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Hanure, told journalists that the challenge of medical brain drain and the desire for doctors to seek jobs in developed countries is a common phenomenon among the third world countries like Nigeria, explaining the efforts being made by the government to provide enabling environment for doctors.
Part of what we are doing by giving hazard allowance, this allowance, that allowance, again is to try to mitigate, to improve the salary structure. That's an attempt.
Available statistics shows there are about 72,000 medical doctors registered with the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, but only approximately 35,000 are practicing in a country with about 200 million population, creating huge deficit in the country's health sector. For these medical doctors sitting behind me, the decision to go to Saudi Arabia is one they would not have loved to make if the conducive environment is provided in Nigeria. And while the government insists that it is doing much, these doctors say more needs to be done to save the country's health sector from imminent collapse. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Welcome back. Let's take you through some of the dailies we've got here. Take a look at New Telegraph first. Insurgency. FG shielding Boko Haram sponsors, says ex-military intelligence chief. This is the big one they've got here. And then still talking about security. Attack on NDA will spur military to end criminality by... Not that it's disciplinarism, that is that much tongue twisting, but sometimes it can happen. So you see the writer, as minority reps decry escalated terrorism attacks. Armed Forces constitutes pro-panel. And then you see DHQ's personnel monitoring CCTV not asleep during attack. So that's what you see right there. So much as this has been put up now, there'll be questions as to the footages, who, if they saw them make the entrance, what sort of alarm was raised, what processes or procedure was kick-started, what were the protocols. I know different things going through different minds when this kind of things happen. But just above all of this, and the nameplates as well, I think part of this was highlighted yesterday. Penalties: RMAFC, EFCC, DSS, Battle, FRC over Amendment Act.
A lot of acronyms there.
Yeah.
And it seems to end with C. EFCC,
That's
RMFC,
right.
FRC.
So for the FRC, of course, that's the Fiscal Responsibility Commissions. That's their act, and the powers to penalize erring executives, of ministries, departments, and agencies, MTAs, over certain things. So the battle is on. Committee to present findings after recess. Hopefully, they might have some things on their plate to address. So, oh yeah, look at that. MD Khan. Saudi Arabia's recruitment of Nigerian doctors disastrous. So, I think it's something that should be addressed. So, there you go. That's a New Telegraph this morning.
We'll take a look at the Daily Trust. The lead is on just killings. Youths dump over 20 corpses at Plateau Government House. And you have the pictures on the front page, just trying to paint a picture, essentially, of what is playing out, or what played out yesterday. And Aguta leaders accuse herders of killing 37 members. We're not responsible, Fulani group. 24-hour curfew reimposed on Just North. 10 suspects in custody. And so this one in parentheses, how land dispute might have triggered bloodshed. It's on page 5 of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Really sad one, really sad. And under that, you see PDP crisis, governors BOT take position on Secondus. It's on page 32, just some politics for you, what's playing out in the People's Democratic Party, PDP. And perhaps an angle to the NDA attack, just right below the caption, says leaked army memo confirms Daily Trust report on loose fence. So it appears as though more details are coming out from that attack. And just one more story. You see, bandits abduct widow in Katsina 24 hours after husband's death. That's double tragedy, you would say. It's a page 29 read. A couple of other stories across the nation. There's sports on the back page as well. And that's the Daily Trust newspaper.
Okay, take a look at Vanguard newspaper next. And Vanguard following a similar line. Retired military officers rail against attack on NDA. So they've got a host of riders here. NDA attack, a disgrace to Nigerian army, says Oyinlola. It's a charade, shame, Bode George. Kunolami, Samuel Agbede. I fear Afghanistan, Rwandan situation in Nigeria. That's ascribed to Brigadier General Ikwanwen. No military unit is safe any longer. Air Vice Marshal Ararile. Hope I see that right. And then you see attack should be a turning point in fight against banditry. Brigadier General Usman. Attack on NDA won't deter military from ending criminality, Buhari vows. General Irabo, others constitutes, General Irabo, others constitution of Board of Inquiry. Okay, so he has ordered the constitution of a Board of Inquiry into the matter to see what went down. And then Reps Caucus demand forensic investigation. So that's several riders associated with that lead story. And then the unfortunate incident which occurred yesterday. Gunmen killed 35 in fresh Plateau bloodbath that what Vanguard is reporting this morning. Stop intimidating Southeast, South, Ohaneze, Pandev tell army. So, okay, there's so many here, which you may need to just go ahead and see. But don't forget, you can take a look at what's on the back page. Sports, huge one. There's this trend making the rounds now with some of those tennis players who, you know, been there, done that for a while. Look at this one, for instance. Serena pulls out of US Open. So there's a chance for the other lads to, you know, stake a claim. Let them see your credentials and see what, let them know who's there and who could do certain things. And don't forget, there's another one. World Cup qualifier. FIFA president steps in, asks England, Spain to release players. So that's going to be a battle.
Oh, yes.
If England and if those countries release the players, they have to quarantine for 10 days. And they kind of have to say, well, if we have 4 of those players in our team and you come up with this rule, how are we going to face our matches? If there's 10-day quarantine, it means they could lose points and we the ones who pay this. Oh, gosh.
Maybe keep them in a bubble. I think that was a bubble idea that they came up with, essentially trying to just...
Did the bubble even work? Oh,
but I mean, you have to make these considerations. They need to play for their country.
Yeah, how do they balance it? It's tough.
Yeah, clearly. Well, the Guardian newspaper is next, and as you would expect, the lead story is on the NDA attack. Army sets up inquiry. Presidency assures of security. So that story is not going away. It will seem ex-naval chief alleges sponsors of insurgency known to government. Attack won't dampen military action against criminality, Buhari vows. PDP charges National Assembly to summon Buhari, demands forensic investigation. Nigeria has failed under Buhari, northern youths lament. Bandits may extend attack to DSS facility housing Kanu. IPOB alleges that one. I mean, those stories start on the front page and they spill over to page 2. And under that, just in 24 hours shut down after fresh attack leaves 36 dead, houses burned, and a host of riders really under that one. Youth storm assembly, government house with victims' bodies. Lalong updates, Buhari says all culprits must face justice. Declare state of emergency in northern Nigeria, says Zamfara governor. Presidency accuses Otom of inciting ethnic religious hatred. Igbo youths condemn attacks, seeks Buhari's resignation. It's different angles to this. And I mean, the big stories on the front page of The Guardian all center around security. Let me just take this one at the bottom of the front page. How Nigeria's poor airports killed over 30 airlines in 30 years.
Wow.
So that's in parentheses. Who's saying this? You might want to find out in the inside pages how Nigeria's poor airports killed over 30 airlines in 30 years. Well, let's leave it there for the Guardian newspaper.
And you just wonder, is anybody taking notes of that, such that with a view to ensuring that that doesn't happen again, if that's coming from the professionals who says, look, this is what led to this. So even if we're coming up with this new one now, is it, I can't remember, Eagle Air, Nigerian Air, isn't the same fate going to be valid? Who knows? Leadership newspaper is the next one. You have another northern governor giving perspectives on security matter on the front page of Leadership newspaper this morning. Mixed reactions trail Matawale's call for emergency rule dialogue with bandits. Even though the argument is that bandits, terrorists, what exactly? Can the country make up its mind?
Just
what they are?
The appropriate tag.
Yeah. So, but the rider, the first one says, ACF rejects state of emergency, backs negotiation with bandits. Middle Belt Forum disagrees with governor, says bandits should be treated as terrorists. Emergency rule long overdue. Arewa youths. Military probes attack on NDA as abductors demand 200 million naira ransom for Major. Even though there are several images circulating and reports about the fate that has befallen him, having been kidnapped, but now you still hear or read about this one, so who knows?
You know, about that state of emergency, I mean, you'd hear experts tell you, so there's a state of emergency in reality, and then there's the one that is declared. And they tell you that, I mean, from the trends we're seeing, not just in Plateau State, in Kaduna State, in Katsina, across the country essentially, Zamfara. They tell you that this calls for emergency already. So if all the the movements, the decisions and all doesn't have a tone of emergency, then you wonder, do you need to now pronounce and say, okay, a state of emergency? Of course, that has constitutional ramifications, but essentially there needs to be action.
So there you go. And then you also see this attack will hasten end to banditry, says PMB. PDP asks NAS to summon president over worsening insecurity. So all of that associated with that big one here. And then you see, you equally see just at the bottom there, Presidency hits back at Otom, accuses him of inciting religious ethnic war. And then again, PDP governors wade into party crisis, meet today. So there'll be lots of people looking to see how developments, across the country will just play themselves out and see and hope that everywhere we just need solutions everywhere, don't we? Just to move and ensure things turn out right. Well, don't forget that you can always get your comments across to us concerning whatever you might have heard. You want to recommend anything, hey, we're open for all of that. So there you go. That is it. We'll look at some of the dailies here this morning. We will be back in a moment. Do stay with us.
It came like a bad dream, with gunmen invading the Yewazangem district in Jos North local government area. That attack left 36 people dead, most of them women and children.
They cut off our door. They enter inside. They kill people that they can kill. They burn the remaining one. It was just by mistake. I jumped fire just like water.
Angered by the killing of 36 people and several others wounded, the youths take to the streets to protest what they describe as a lack of security that has now left many of their loved ones dead. To make their points abundantly clear, first, they visit the Plateau State Specialist Hospital morgue, where some bodies were deposited, evacuated them, and headed to the State House of Assembly.
15 bodies. Well, so multiple. In fact, we are still trying to find out and do some physical postmortem to be able to tell you exactly the kind of injury and the mechanism of injury and the weaponry. We are yet to determine exactly, but I believe that by the time we go to do one-on-one check, we'll be able to give that with all certainty.
Thereafter, they proceeded to the government, leading to palpable tension in the city centre, a move that caused the state government to reimpose a 24-hour curfew in Jos North area indefinitely.
The government should come out and identify with us that actually our people have died. When that incident happened, they said we killed people. They were particular to some people and the youths. So we are saying, if this one was done yesterday, let them also make the same statement as to who perpetrated those acts and let them be arrested. And then even the breach that is to link the community, they still went there and they destroyed. It was a planned attack to kill our people. They imposed curfew on the state, and these people are taking advantage of the curfew. All our people are compliant to the curfew, but in other parts of the state, they are not compliant. And so they will go to our various houses and find us, observing the curfew, and they kill us.
The village in Jos North local government area, about 10 kilometers from Jos, the Plateau state capital, was attacked by suspected herdsmen on Tuesday night, leaving several people, mostly women and children, dead, with many injured and houses burned.
Women wailing in the hospital where over 36 bodies lay on the floor in an open room at the Plateau State Specialist Hospital.
We are still trying to find out and do some physical postmortem to be able to tell you exactly the kind of injury and the mechanism of injury and the weaponry. We are yet to determine exactly, but I believe that by the time we go to do one-on-one check, we'll be able to give that with all certainty. But for now, that is the picture we have, and we believe that we're just pleading for calm because the environment is very chaotic and very rowdy.
Some of the survivors who are now on admission in the hospital are being treated for various degrees of injuries sustained after the callous attack.
That one has a gunshot.
One of the victims speak on the harrowing experience.
Around 8 a.m., we was just sitting outside, then we just had gunshots. Then we have nowhere to run. We entered one room. They start shooting. They cut off our door. They enter inside. They kill people that they can kill. They burn the remaining one. It was just by mistake. I jumped fire, just like water. I saw blood with my 2 eyes. Since I was born, I did not see blood like today.
And the government is worried about the incessant attack on defenseless citizens in the state.
We have institutional framework. We have the Peace Building Agency, first of its kind in Nigeria, which we established, and is organizing dialogues between communities. Without the Peace Building Agency, I can assure you, probably we would not have had a Plateau state today. It's doing tremendously well in dialoguing, in talking to communities and community leaders. Apart from that, the state government has employed about 3,500 youths to serve as police constabularies. Police train them in act of intelligence gathering, and they are helping in all the 17 local governments of the state.
Yellow-Azangam village was attacked by suspected herdsmen on Tuesday night, leaving over 36 people killed. And they are mostly women and children, with many others injured and houses burned.
We concluded with our repentant mandate to secure the release of the people that were kidnapped in Rini, about 83 of them, which people are there to receive them from their captives person. So we are working day and night just to make sure that our people slept with their 2 eyes closed. But unfortunately, some miscreants who doesn't care with what people are suffering with are still taking laws into their hands, which it is unfortunate for the country to be having such kind of attitude. You as a security, I know you are doing your best, but you are facing some challenges and some predicaments, which it has to be improved. That is the service of the security. Because it was unfortunate. If these bandits can have the heart to go off to NDE to kidnap and army officers, I think the government has to look into it and maybe declare a state of emergency on security. Because some people will just be current that the government should declare state of emergency on education, on this, on that. But I think the northern Nigeria has to be declared a state of emergency on security.
Welcome back. Well, yes, indeed, we're going to be discussing Plateau security and then eventually extension. We've got Dan Mangjang. He's the Commissioner for Information, Plateau State. He joins us on the line. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today.
Thank you. Good morning, gentlemen, and good morning, Nigeria.
Well, yes, indeed, shocking, and many just looking to see how they can ensure that this is addressed squarely. And yeah, press releases and certain actions are being taken by the state government. But if you could just bring us up to speed. Yesterday, we saw several people who were not happy protest before the press release came through. What is the state government currently doing at the moment?
Yes, thank you very much. The people have every right to be aggrieved, to be angry, to be annoyed, not to be happy with the situation that is happening. But I can assure you that as a state government, everything that is humanly possible that we need to do within the ambits of the law, we are trying to do. And some of those things is the curfew that was put in place, to be able to let the security take charge of the place and to further safeguard lives and property. We have put curfew in place. We sent the security people to the area. The Commissioner of Police and the GOC Third Armored Division and all the security agencies have been on top of, have been doing very well, have been very, very helpful. Even the detachment of mobile police that were sent to Abuja are enforcing, and that is what we have been able to do. The corpses that you see that were taken to the Plateau State House of Assembly and then dumped at the end of the day, dumped at the government house in Little Redfield, where we evacuated them to the mortuary, and this morning there are plans to go and bury them. While the peace building agency continues with talking to warring communities, community leaders, who talk to warring communities, and anything that is proactive towards forestalling any future occurrences. As a people, we are doing it. What people should understand is that we are not happy about even an animal that is killed wrongly. The state governor is not happy. There's nobody right-thinking Plateau person is happy, because this matter has taken us so many years backwards.
Now, could you tell us, what actually went wrong? Because if people thought that these clashes or any of these killings or whatever could lead to this kind of scenarios have been addressed, how did it occur again?
Yes, well, it is not something that anybody has control about. It's not something that you would say until investigation is done. The onus rests squarely on those that are doing the investigation. When they do the investigation, we would now know what actually went wrong. But what went wrong is that people were killed, people's property were destroyed. And so we don't want to, like we said during the past week, we don't want to stereotype people. The most important thing is that arrests have been made, and from when these people are interrogated, probably we'll get confessional statements, and we would actually know whether there are collaborators and whether there are perpetrators. But as it is now, what went wrong is that human beings, it's man's inhumanity to man. And like we did say in the past week, it's an activity of criminal elements, and it is an extension of those criminal elements that has manifested itself into this gory situation that we have found ourselves as a people and as a state. When we are when we have celebrated the coming back of peace for about 6 years now. It's rather unfortunate, but it's part of it is inhumanity to man and criminal elements that are involved, so that they can loot people's property and probably occupy their enclave where their places of abode.
Well, we're seeing pictures of burnt houses. I mean, so if the goal was to even occupy that property, for example, the house has been burnt, as it were. But, I mean, it's good you're given insight so Nigerians can understand what is really at play here. Because a lot of people, I mean, they know in Plateau, they don't exactly know what's happening. All they see are reports and, very sad images coming out from there. This is not the first attack we've had in Jos North specifically. And yes, this attack is the latest, but we've had series of attacks, attacks. I mean, that's the term in previous times. So I would like to know what was found out concerning those previous attacks. Some might say this is isolated or this is related. Well, that's still left for investigation. But for the ones that happened before now, what did you find out? What resolutions came from the findings?
Well, these attacks are one too many. They are one too many, and even in the past, we have had commissions of inquiry set up, and these commissions of inquiry, the white papers are there. The Nikki Toby Commission of Inquiry was set up. The Bola Ajibola Commission of Inquiry was set up, and there are white papers to those commissions of inquiries. For the recent attack, investigation is still being done. What it was found out depends on information that will be given to us by the Commissioner of Police of Plateau State. And the issues keep coming, and if you would spare me, we should be able to try to find out from him. But as time goes on, because these attacks have been one too many, profiling today, another attack tomorrow, another profiling, another attack. There are weapons that have been found in the hands of some of these people that have been profiled. There are some of the people that have been on bail. Some community leaders have been on bail. They have been fingered in some of these attacks, and their bail conditions are being revised. And so, as time goes on, we will unravel exactly, because there should be no sacred cow, and this government would be more than happy to make sure that we find a lasting solution, in fact, a permanent solution to this situation.
Well, is there any specific incident or attack that happened in the past that was unraveled such that a proper resolution was found? I think this is quite important because, I mean, maybe that one, you could learn from that one, pick some points from that one to apply to this one. So if you could just tell us, is there any attack in the past that happened, some investigation went on, arrests were made, maybe prosecutions, and you dealt with that fully?
Yes, I can tell you, even if on the part of government, I'm speaking on the part of government, government, in the first place, when an attack is done, a commission of inquiry is set up. What government is, the findings are not an end in itself. The findings can only make meaning when a government white paper is issued. And government white papers have been issued in the past. We have had situations whereby there are indictments on the part. And when government white paper is issued, there are various levels of implementation. Government has done its part by issuing the white paper. I know of the Nikki Toby Commission of Inquiry, whereby a commissioner of police was indicted, and it was recommended that he should be relieved of his position. But at the end of the day, to our chagrin as a state, the man was promoted to be an Inspector General of Police at the end of the day, even when government had written against that effect. The commission, the white papers are still there. What government needs to do, individuals need to implement, the security needs to implement, the courts need to implement, government needs to initiate actions, and the initiation of action is the fact that it has been able to provide the enabling environment by even coming out with the white paper in the first place. And so the other arms that need to prosecute should do the needful and make sure that they step in. It is not possible that government will implement everything that is said in the white paper. Whatever that pertains government to do is what government has done. Other arms of government should be able to take over from there.
In other words, because the way it comes across is that you're saying that you're not exactly satisfied with the performance of what security agencies, because these lapses that you have just highlighted are in one way or the other contributing to this problem. Is that what you're saying?
Of course, if there is no justice, there will be reoccurrence. What has happened is that laws have to be. If you see an issue happening, then it means that the laws are not being applied. It means that there are sacred cows. We have had in the past in the life of this state. At that time, I was media advisor. We have had instances whereby criminal elements were intercepted. About 16 of them from another state. They were carrying weapons. They were arraigned before they were being investigated, being arraigned by the courts, and before you know it, the case files were transferred to Abuja, and that was the end of it. And this is the kind of thing that that happens, and it doesn't give people hope. So the issue of the fact that we are not satisfied, we as an individual and as a government, we are not satisfied. How can we be satisfied when people are being killed on the daily basis, and the agencies of government, individuals that are supposed to do the needful, the white papers are there, government has taken decision, has taken responsibility, coming up with the white paper, and then funny things keep happening. This is the reason. Unless people are punished, unless there is justice, we will continue to have reoccurrence, because we must work in a way that we will have will punish, and it will serve as a deterrence to others. And more so, the state government of Simon Bakola Long has come up with far-reaching laws to make sure that these issues are arrested. For example, he has signed into law the anti-land grabbing law, and now that the law is there, signed by His Excellency, we enjoin Plateau people to take advantage of the law and seek to go back and occupy their lands by seeking redress in the appropriate quarters of government. What government needs to do, it has provided the enabling environment for people to act. Government cannot provide the enabling environment and then tomorrow it will go and then do what you are supposed to do. Even God doesn't operate like that. There are things that we as human beings need to do, and then God will now step in.
Wait, this land grabbing that you speak about, could you shed a little more light? Is it that, or are you referring to those who were displaced from their land? Is that termed land grabbing, for which they can leverage on this law?
Of course, when your land is taken from you, and then somebody occupies it, that is what it means. Essentially, in a nutshell, that is what it means, that people have been displaced, communities have been displaced. The state government has risen up to the challenge by providing the enabling law. And so the state government has a limit to how it can go to do what the communities are supposed to do. And so for providing the enabling law alone is a huge leap, and it's a huge progress that has been made by government. That is the situation, that everybody has to, all hands must be on deck, so that we make sure that we keep Plateau State safe, so that we make sure that we accommodate one another. If there is a problem, like we have isolated, that there was no law to allow you to go back and claim your land, the enabling law is now available. You take advantage of it. So that is what we are saying, that there has been communities that have been displaced and their lands occupied. And the government has provided the enabling law for them to go and seek redress and go to court and then take over from there. This is what we are saying as a government.
So for the benefit of those trying to place what is the root cause of this, are you saying essentially this is about land grabbing and the effects of that?
This is one of it, because everywhere you would see that there is pressure on the land. Land does not increase, human beings increase, animals increase. The only human resource that does not increase is land. And we continue to have call it a farmer-header clash. But all we are saying, and then it has now added, the dimension that this has added is the criminal element of it. People go, they would want to take advantage. The cattle rustling is there, kidnapping is there. Whatever that people would do to make money, they take it and join it. I can assure you that, I can tell you that memory lane, there are instances that we had even political undertones with this. We had a local government election in this state, and then churches, and then it became religious because churches and mosques were born. But the dimension to which these crises are happening this time around are not religious, are not ethnic, are not political, but are purely an act of criminality. And criminals have criminality is not alien to any religion, any tribe. Criminals are united in their criminality, and that is what it is that we have been able to isolate. And so government has to be fair, people have to be fair, every hand must be on deck to make sure that we live together. There is nowhere that we will go as Plateau people. This is the state that we have, and we must put our hands on deck to make sure that we salvage this state and make it habitable, like it was done in the past 6 years.
You know, just recently the governor met with the president, and he was quite hopeful. I mean, that was before this attack, that the curfew would be lifted. That's the curfew that came as a result of the attack, the killing of those travelers earlier on. And then we had this attack, and then another curfew has been reimposed. The question is, how effective have curfews been? Or let me just rephrase this. What happens during curfews? I know movement is restricted, but beyond that, what does the government do? I don't know. What are the kind of things that you do, maybe to calm frayed nerves, to bring people together and the rest during these curfews, just so we can know whether this is a strategy that works?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I would say that we were on the verge of relaxing this curfew when this matter happened. We almost had released a statement that the curfew was relaxed, and then this matter came. And so, back to your question by saying when you put a curfew, what happens? First of all, is for those that are saddled with the security, with keeping the peace, to be able to take charge. Secondly, is to be able to reduce to the barest minimum the escalation of the crisis. Thirdly, is to be able to give the people a sense of security of their lives and property. I know people would say, of what use this curfew? In the curfew, there have been attacks, but I would assure you, without the curfew, the extent of damage, the escalation of the carnage would have been worse than that, and we would have almost not had a Plateau state today if we were to allow everybody to go about his duties the way they wanted. If you saw during the EndSARS period, the escalation of the crisis did not have any bounds. And so the curfew has helped the situation by 6 o'clock, 5:30, everybody is rushing to his home, and that helps to control movement. Even though I agree that some people use the coffee period to take undue advantage of it, but like I said, the area in place under curfew has been occupied by the security with the enforcement from Abuja, and that has helped our situation so much. I wouldn't have imagined if there was no curfew, what would have happened on the city of Jos and the entire state. It is possible that the entire state might have even been engulfed with this crisis.
Well, we understand that the state government is embarking on what you describe as this peace-building initiative. Is it working?
The peace-building initiative is working. It's working because the peace-building agency, since it came, it's as a result of the initiative of the peace-building agency that we have enjoyed peace for the past 6 years or thereabout. There's also recently, not too long ago, the state government set up the Inter-Religious Council, something that has not been there for the past 5-6 years. It was set up, and it is on the Inter-Religious Council is now sitting. They have parleyed with His Excellency. He has given them definite assignments to go back and talk to their adherents, to go back and fashion out ways that would come out of this quagmire. And I can tell you that without the peace-building initiative, it would have been worse. There was even the peace-building agency in conjunction with other NGOs, like the NGO of Matthew Weir and Ashafa, came, and we even established a forgiveness garden in Zaria Terrace that is being taken care of by the STF. And the forgiveness garden, if you have, and we have a day that has been set aside as a public holiday, a day of forgiveness, whereby everybody that has aggrieved, that is aggrieved, or that has offended any other would go and ask for forgiveness from his fellow brother in that garden. It has been working. For the past 6 years, we have not known any kind of crisis at this dimension, even though there have been pockets of isolation, pockets of attacks, but the peace-building initiative has worked, because other states have even come to copy our own initiative, and it's working for them. Without the peace-building initiative in Plateau State, we would have been, if you saw the level of investment in hospitality in Plateau State, because of that initiative, you would know that indeed we came back to the acronym of the Home of Peace and Tourism.
All right, Mr. Dan Manjan, Commissioner for Information, Plateau State, we do hope that all of this, the efforts yield much more fruits than currently is going on. Thank you very much indeed for your time this morning.
Thank you so much.
All right, well, back in a moment. Don't go away.
It came like a bad dream, with gunmen invading the Yewazangem district in Jos North local government area. That attack left 36 people dead, most of them women and children.
They cut off our door. They enter inside. They kill people that they can kill. They burn the remaining one. It was just by mistake. I jumped fire just like water.
Angered by the killing of 36 people and several others wounded, the youths take to the streets to protest what they describe as a lack of security that has now left many of their loved ones dead. To make their points abundantly clear, first, they visit the Plateau State Specialist Hospital morgue, where some bodies were deposited, evacuated them, and headed to the State House of Assembly.
15 bodies. Well, so multiple. In fact, we are still trying to find out and do some physical postmortem to be able to tell you exactly the kind of injury and the mechanism of injury and the weaponry, we are yet to determine exactly. But I believe that by the time we go to do one-on-one check, we'll be able to give that with all certainty.
Thereafter, they proceeded to the government, leading to palpable tension in the city centre, a move that caused the state government to reimpose a 24-hour curfew in Jos North area indefinitely.
The government should come out and identify with us that actually our people have died. When that incident happened, they said we killed people. They were particular to some people and the youths. So we are saying if this one was done yesterday, let them also make the same statement as to who perpetrated those acts and let them be arrested. And then even the breach that is to link the community, they still went there and they destroyed. It was a planned attack to kill our people. They imposed curfew on the state, and these people are taking advantage of the curfew. All our people are compliant to the curfew, but in other parts of the state, they are not compliant. And so they will go to our various houses and find us, observing the curfew, and they kill us.
The village in Jos North local government area, about 10 kilometers from Jos, the Plateau state capital, was attacked by suspected herdsmen on Tuesday night, leaving several people, mostly women and children, dead, with many injured and houses burned.
Welcome back. Honorable Dachum Bagos joins us now. He's a member of the House of Representatives, of course, representing Justice. So he joins us. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today on the program as well.
Yeah, good morning, Germany. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Plateau State.
So, I mean, yes, definitely, this is your constituency. You represent a lot of them, and all part of what everybody wants to see is solutions, I believe, to these kind of matters. So at the moment, yes, we just spoke to the commissioner who spoke about the efforts that are being put in place to ensure that they curb this, much as they acknowledge the challenges that they face. But for you, what kind of feelings are you getting at the moment?
Chamberlain, it's quite unfortunate with what we are facing right now on the plateau. The situation, it's a carnage that you can't really explain. By the way, where it happened just north is a border with my own constituency. And definitely what happens to one on the plateau happens to each and every one of us. And I've heard my elder brother, the commissioner, but to me, we have passed that stage, and I appreciate the sincerity of some of the things that he has said, because the feeling now on the plateau is that enough is enough. The feeling now on the plateau is that people no longer need the political statement or waiting for politicians to be politically correct, waiting for us to tell them that this is... No, we have passed that for long. What people now are waiting is for immediate result and immediate action. It has gone past the era that we are telling people, do this, government is doing that, and so on and so forth. What people are now waiting and looking for is immediate justice. That look, we have waited on government for long. This morning I have received over 50 messages. Our phone numbers are being circulated on the plateau and even the entire country that you should watch your representative from National Assembly, that you should watch your House of Assembly members. And if you see the demands that people are already putting out of 50 messages, Chamberlain, over 40 messages are saying you are our representative. When you are on the floor, what we want you to hear, what we want to hear from you is that justice, impeach the president. What we want to hear from the House of Assembly member is impeach the governor. What we want to hear, these are the kind of messages that people are flying on our phones and bulging us with on our phone because people are tired. What are those issues that we really need to sit practical issues on the table. For instance, when we are talking of justice, a few weeks ago, when the unfortunate issue that happened in Rukuba Road, the government and even the press and even new channels, you were able to identify and say illegal youths. But this is something that has happened yesterday. Nobody could say this is who that did it, but all we could hear is now unknown gunmen. So how is it that immediately illegal youths were identified within 24 hours that they were the ones that carried out a carnage, but what happened yesterday, it is unknown gunmen. For how long are we going to wait for unknown gunmen? And for how long are we going to, when our people are being killed, it is unknown gunmen. And when our people stand to defend the land and trying to see what they can do, they now identify them as illegal youths, they now identify them as Birom youths or Mogobul youths or Anaguta youths. These are issues that we need to really look at as the people, and government to come up clearly identify. Yes, we appreciate the efforts of government in peace building and whatsoever. But what are those recommendations that the peace building agencies have been bringing out? Forgiveness guarding, to go and forgive who are the guarding. When people that have been killing us are supposed to be the ones to come to that guarding and forgive us, because the majority of 80% of Plateau people are the people that have been killed on daily basis. So who are those people in Plateau should go and forgive in the forgiveness garden? People that have been killing people on the Plateau are supposed to come to that garden to forgive us, to seek for forgiveness from us. So these are issues, and we come to curfew, and these people no longer even trust the issue of the curfew on ground, because there will be curfew, and when curfew is ongoing, people have moved into their houses. The curfew is like catch people in their houses and to come and be killed. So these are issues that people no longer have confidence in the system, that they need practical solution, they need immediate justice, they need issues that look, what can we do to get these issues out?
Honorable, regarding that attack you referenced, I mean, the police, I believe the investigation is still on, and the statement that was released by the police said suspected illegal youth. So it will be definitely premature for anyone to go out there and say, well, that's a statement from the police. Well, that's I'm quoting the statement.
And let me still take you.
Just a moment, Honorable. I'm just quoting the statement.
By some elders, even in the north.
I understand. I'm quoting a statement. Just a moment, Honorable.
They are calling the youths. They have not, if they have facts to that, they have not been called for investigation for them to give those facts.
Okay, Honorable,
so why are you now
if you could just take a moment.
On the platter for their heads to be chopped, while the justice system is now against the people that are being killed. And
Honorable Bagos, I'm trying to put a question across, if you don't mind. Honorable Bagos, if you don't mind, I just wanted to make it clear. That's a statement I quoted from the police, just to put it out there and put it in context of the conversation we're having. Investigation is still on, and I believe that until this matter is followed to the fruition, it's going to be premature to say this is who's responsible for it. And that's coming from the police suspected, they say. But now, speaking about solutions. Right. So speaking about solutions, I mean, you referenced some of the things the commissioner said earlier on, and you also referenced the messages you're getting from the people. The big one is what more should be done? And you've talked about justice and the rest. I'm thinking in terms of political parties. I know that Plateau State has representation across political parties. In terms of the leaders at various levels, is there a coming together? Is there a platform where everyone says, you know what, regardless of our affiliations, let's come together and, put in our ideas to solve this? Is that happening?
Yeah, well, I know that 2 weeks ago, thereabouts, 1 or 2 weeks ago, the governor called stakeholders on the plateau. I was not at that meeting, but I don't know what was reached and the solutions or resolutions that were reached at that meeting. So to me, that was an opportunity for all stakeholders on the plateau to be able to come and discuss issues squarely. But resolutions that were taken at that meeting we have not yet. We expect that community from that meeting should be well, and to, at least even if they are security matters, confidence should be given to the people that look, we have your back. So these are issues that people on daily basis are worried. I cannot quantify as a representative of the people the pain we have on daily basis, seeking for solution, people seeking for solution. But I can tell you that if truly government from the federal and the state level are serious with this issue of insecurity, there is a solution. There is no way that government will say that there is no solution. And imagine when helicopter, DIG, and whosoever was sent onto the plateau 2 weeks ago to come and to see that the state is safe. And unfortunately, this didn't happen day before yesterday. So, which means the helicopters and the security that were sent were sent to the plateau to work from 8 a.m. and close 5 p.m. and from 6 p.m. in the night to the next morning before they resume work, what happens to the people on the plateau? So these are issues that people are asking. What we knew are even those practical solutions that government have to. We have Operation Rainbow on the state. We were talking and discussing, trying to press issues to the governor. How can we activate the Operation Rainbow? He gave us assurance that Operation Rainbow will be activated, but this is 6 years down the line. What is Operation Rainbow doing? Like Operation Rainbow is just like a mini state community police that we have in Plateau, which I believe that if we have our own activated community, community state policing structure, we'll be able to do something. So these are issues that people are no longer having confidence that, look, you have possible solutions, we are not using that possible solution. And that's why now we have told the people, look, everybody resolve to defend yourself. If Section 30 subsection 1 of the Constitution says everybody have a right to livelihood, which means as having a right to livelihood, you should defend your life.
But you know, Honorable Vargas, the commissioner just now, he said, when we did ask him about the peace building initiative, yes, he says that there's such a thing, and as a matter of fact, it is working. So this narrative now, which you say, well, since nothing is going on, no solution has been proffered, defend yourself. So, but are you not aware of that initiative, or you don't think it is working?
I'm very aware of the peace building initiative. But like I said, what are those recommendations from the peace building agencies? What have the peace building agencies so far recommended that, look, justice should be given to the people, that their peace have been trampled and their rights have been trampled, that they need justice? I always say that it's not the peace that we are talking about is not about political peace. It's not about coming to the table for workshop to take tea and say that you and that. Yes, they have the peace building agencies that bring community leaders together. But I can assure you that the community leaders that they usually bring are not the people that are killing our people. People that are killing our people usually coming from outside. What is the peace building agency doing about that? So it's not about us when we are now agitated, then the peace building agency will come, bring everybody to the table and just say, calm down, calm down. It's also like when somebody, what the peace building agency is doing is like now that we are crying and people are now happy. People on the street building agency will call them to the table, to a workshop group, calm down, this is what you do in conflict resolution. That's not
but he equally
situation where these are recommendations of the peace building agency that look, justice should be given to these people. These people's land has been grabbed. The people that are occupying
Honorable, that was where I'm going next.
The original people of the land should go back to the land. That is when you start talking of this.
Okay, he equally spoke about that, and he said that the state has enacted that law, this land grabbing law, and he wants people to take advantage of that law. Is that part of what?
How can people take advantage of a law that at the same time it is government that's supposed to give justice to the people? When people use guns to chase you out of your land and you have to use law to chase them out of their land. I don't know how practical that is. People use gun to chase you out of your land, and you want to use law to chase them out of the land. How practical is that? Government is supposed to use the same force to chase these people out of the land the way they use the same force to evacuate people from their lands. So I don't see how practical that is, that people were being chased from their lands with guns, and you are telling them to go and get back their lands through the law. So I really don't know how practical that narration is.
Well, Honorable, as a lawmaker, I mean, you make laws essentially for things like this. I mean, laws are meant to preempt or at least solve a lingering problem. But essentially, this is your job, and this is a land of laws. I mean, that's why you're a lawmaker. So are you saying that people should not toe the path of the law, of the Constitution, of justice, and abandon that, being a lawmaker that you are?
Yeah. People should go the path of law when the government is ready and willing to give them justice. So now you go to the court of law to start having another year or another how many years in the court when your land is being developed by an unknown government. Yes, I'm a lawmaker, but I make sure that the laws that I put or the laws that I support to be executed or to be implemented or to be enacted are practical laws. So these are issues that we try to look at. What are those laws that we have been able to pass as a people? So it's not just about that you go and pass a law and you now tell the people that because the people cannot implement the law. In as much as we pass the law, somewhere have to look at the laws we pass to execute. So it is not the people that will now say that they will use the law. The people can only use the law when it is practicable.
Well, people are meant to obey the law and governments implement or policies implement. But let's get Mark Wayne. I think she's got some questions for you as well.
It's a pretty tricky one, gentlemen, in terms of what needs to be done in this particular regard. So I was wondering, Honorable, you have made the instance now and said that people have been chased away from their land with guns, and you're saying that you're saying it doesn't seem practical for them to use the law to get their land back. So when the law was being enacted, did you have an idea of what the idea was behind the law? Are you aware of how the law was supposed to work? Because apparently it was made to address a particular issue. Isn't that correct?
Did you hear any part of it, Honorable?
Yeah, I couldn't hear Mark there, unless maybe just from the little I got from the TV, that if I have an idea of what...
Yeah, she was talking about what your impression is about how that law is supposed to work in order to ensure that things turn out right.
Yeah, sincerely, I'm not aware, and I don't know what the law is all about. It's only today that I'm hearing that they're even a law on land grabbing. But when I know that even before getting to a house, we have submitted a bill to the House of Assembly on to stop open grazing in the land. That was one of the laws that I know that as citizens we then submitted to the House of Assembly about 2016, 2017. But a law on land grabbing, I don't know how that law looks like. The law on land grabbing, meaning is it anti-land grabbing or anti? I have not come aware, and I'm not aware, and I have not seen the law. But even as it may be, whatever law that it is about our land grabbing, I say that the point is that, look, if there is a law, the government should use the same law to evacuate people that have already grabbed our people's land. It's as simple as that. Because if the government have implemented or have signed such law, it is government that's supposed to go and evacuate people from that land using the law. Because if the law, because that's why I said I see how it's not practicable that for the people that their lands have been grabbed to use the law to go and get their lands back. But the law is government that now will use an instrument, just like a police is using a warrant to go and search your house. So now government is supposed to use that law to go and get those lands back.
Well, at the moment, these situations, I mean, well, naturally, of course, when people lose their loved ones, they will definitely not be in a good place. What would you like to see? I know you mentioned some part of it. What would you like to see being done, and by who, to ensure that these matters are addressed, either in the short term or long term?
First of all, sincerity of purpose, Chamberlain. Sincerity of purpose, confidence, perception. And these are issues that people want to see from government. Because, like I said earlier, that over 90%, 80 to 90% of the text messages is, look, we are tired, impeach the president, we are tired, impeach the governor, and so on and so forth. That's the kind of solution people are looking for. But even as it is, as a representative of people, want to see that, look, government has some certain level of confidence in the system that they can give people. Up to now, this is from yesterday till now, I have not yet seen any news headline that the presidency has condemned what has happened on the Plateau. But 2 weeks ago, before 2-3 hours, there was condemnation. Everybody, everywhere in the world crossed. But when the Plateau people itself were being attacked, you know, apart from the deputy speaker that I saw his headline yesterday condemning the fact he is the highest political officer so far, I have not yet seen any political officer at the highest level from presidency or even anybody. The same people that condemned the act a few weeks ago, none of them has condemned what has happened yesterday, apart from the deputy speaker and the Plateau state government as usual. How can you now tell that the Plateau people should have confidence? And invariably, people will now believe that what has happened yesterday or day before what has happened yesterday is like a reprisal. So if government now are now scared of reprisal, what is the essence of the curfew? That we put curfew against reprisal and people were killed in numbers. So which means the curfew that was put in place was to kill people. If curfew, my own understanding of curfew is that once you have put in curfew, automatically you take charge of the security system. You are now, your freedom has been trampled on that. Look, you no longer have right to go out, because if you go out, you'll be killed. So why now government now telling us that, look, go into our rooms, we will secure you, but it's inside that same room.
And that was what we raised.
When security is around that area, how did these people pass the security that are supposed to be guarding us during curfew?
I believe you caught the conversation when
questions are asking that we have curfew, and if we have curfew, security are going around the parameters with every environment. So how did these people pass these parameters that security agencies have condoned to go and kill the people under curfew?
Well, I believe you heard, we raised that issue with the commissioner earlier on, asking about the effectiveness of the curfew. Even as we saw, a killing happened during the curfew, and he was saying that, well, it probably could have been worse. Clearly, a lot of things need to be looked at as it concerns the curfew. But I'd like to get your perspective on this. Some of your opinion that the House of Representatives should come back from recess. In fact, the National Assembly, not just the House, maybe because you're a member of the House. In fact, the PDP was saying that the National Assembly should come back from recess, cut the recess short so they can address some of these insecurity challenges. And I'd like to know your perspective. There's a conversation around whether this is a state thing or a federal thing.
Because the level of insecurity in the country is a national issue that if we don't reconvene the House immediately and we sit down for more new weeks, I don't know if we'll still have a country called Nigeria or our various constituencies. Our constituencies are being reduced in numbers on daily basis, and we are on recess. And I think if truly we want to look at these issues, I support the position of my party that, look, we should reconvene the House, discuss these issues immediately, look at those issues, and what were those resolutions that the House gave the Presidency, from the Security Summit, that a lot of members are asking questions that the resolution that the House had the Security Summit has been submitted to the President. So now we have done our part. We start asking questions.
Exactly the point now. Some will say you can tell what a person will do based on what they have done in the past. You can predict based on the antecedent. So what more can the National Assembly do? You've talked about those resolutions, the executive and legislative resolutions, but what more should the House be doing?
But I can assure you it's not going to be business as usual. It's going to be tough. People, members are talking across boards. I have received condolence messages from a lot of members across the country, and I know how painful they are, because injury to one is injury to all. It's going to be tough. I will not preempt what will happen, but sincerely, it's not going to be business as usual. Nigerians should wait and see what will happen when we resume, but I can assure you it's going to be tough.
All right then, Honorable Dachshund Bagos, member representing Just South, Just East Federal Constituency. Thank you for talking to us this morning.
Yeah, thank you, Chamberlain, and by the grace of God, we will do the needful.
All right then. We're back in a moment. Stay with us. All right. Yes, indeed. You get to see him in a minute. That's what I was talking about. But before then, you know, earlier, a couple of days ago, we had tried to get across to the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Mr. Garba Show, on the day that the Governor of Benue State was with us, and he couldn't make the program, but he eventually made our sister program, and he responded to so many matters that was raised by Governor Otto. Here's some part of it.
The President has shown extraordinary patience, stomaching a lot of the garbage that Governor Autumn has been pouring upon him. I am not sure in the history of this country there had been any president who would have taken all of the insults that Governor Autumn has been heaping on this president. And on the president's directive, we have ignored him. Most of the time we have said nothing. But it is also said that lies told many times, over and over again, they can assume the coloration of the truth, can be mistaken for the truth. And it is at this point that we decided to say, look, let us set the record straight. President Buhari does not kill people. He is not a cultist. Governor Autumn should stop spreading fears about a president who is humane, who is fair, who is just. And all of the falsehood he spreads perhaps speak to his own character rather than that of the president. The issues of grazing reserves or ranching are matters that have been competently handled by the National Economic Council, chaired by the Vice President. They have a plan for all of these things, and the plan, on that plan, there is a buy-in by about 24, 25 states. Now, what remains is for action to follow. And the action has begun to take place in a number of states. I think about 10 states so far in the country have set up secretariat for those schemes. What the president did lately is nothing that should have warranted these insults, because he has set up a committee under the chief of staff and technical people to audit grazing land. There are reports as submitted by the Ministry of Agriculture indicating that these reserves are in as many as 24 states. Is that true? Can you audit, verify? If they come to your state and they find that these facts are not, is the government not auditing Niger Delta Development Commission now? And the fact that you are auditing, does that presuppose that people are already guilty, or that they have no explanation for what has happened? They should allow the committee to report. And at the point which action is being taken, if you see government going in a direction that you don't want, you can complain. When you ask a question about the kind of things that he says, On your own TV network, Channels Television, you had Ortom lining up people behind him, asking President Buhari, come and kill us. Buhari, come, kill us. Now, is that the way to treat a president of this country? Because the president does not speak, because he's a decent gentleman who does not order executions as we have had in the history of this country. So please, I think that the Benue people are largely peaceful, they are law-abiding, and they love their neighbors. This wedge driving by Governor Otto between Benue and their neighbors has got to stop. In any case, if he doesn't, this is a democratic system of government. What we're saying is that less than 2 years from now, they have an opportunity to put in a governor who will reconstruct and restore their relationships with everyone, including the Fulani, for whom he has so much hatred, and he's driving towards Rwanda if care is not taken.
Well, on the perspective of the funds that was given for ranching in Katsina State, with several lawyers spoken about, which the governor also related to, here's what he said.
Katsina has been given money, but Katsina is not the only one that has been given. So far, about 24 billion naira has been issued to about 4 states for ranching and associated activities. Yobe has been given, Ebonyi has been given, FCT has been given, and a number of states, more than 10 states, are now being processed for these payments. So we have had all this nonsense being said, including by lawyers who ordinarily should be respected, accusing the president of this thing or that. The president cannot be nepotistic. He cannot descend so low as to do what others before him have done. He is a fair and just leader, and the fact that Katsina got money, in fact, 1 or 2 of these states got their own before Katsina, but it's because they didn't go to town with it. That is why people are calling out president, and the governor of Benue is saying all this trash against him. So it's a process, and the state governments are lining up. And if you are ready, you meet up with the given criteria, you get funded. The president's wish is that this open grazing should end. Nobody wants it.
So there you go. That matter. So we're moving on now to developments in the country and how to get a solution. What strategies can we possibly adopt to sort all of this? Have we been there, done that? What more can be done? We've got Ezekiel Nyaitok joining us here today. He's an architect. He's the DG, Nigeria First Project, and also steering committee member, National Consultative Front. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, as you may be aware, different things playing itself out in the polity. Of course, people have different perspectives, concerning what's going on. But just trying to get your perspective on how should we be approaching these kind of things? I mean, at what level, structure, institution, what exactly?
First, thank you for having me, and I want to thank Channels. I can never thank you enough, because every morning Nigerians really come to be enlightened on what's going on, get perspectives and things like that. It's very helpful. Without this medium, there would have been a lot of ignorance. That's number one. Number two, we have 2 sets of people that come here. We have politicians in any guise, professionals, stuff, and we have nationalists. Some of them are politicians as well, but their perspectives is more on how can we get this country moving. The politicians come to give us perspectives to enhance their position on politics and power. This morning, I want to, as much as possible, appeal to the the concerned Nigerians who are nationalists, who are concerned about what's going on. These are people who know that there's a line between governance and politics. Politics is a process that takes you into the governance platform. When you get on the governance platform, which is the management of the resources of the people, you cannot but be professional. Anything short of that, you cannot get the desired result. If you get a politician into a cockpit, sooner or later, that aircraft will crash, even if he's a pilot, if he's politically inclined. But if you get a professional pilot into the cockpit, even in bad weather, he will know how to stabilize the aircraft. Now, government is not what you dash people. It's not what you reward people with, whether at the lowest level, which is local government governance. Governance is something you recruit the best. It's like a bank. It's bigger than a bank. It's more serious than a bank, where you recruit people to manage the resources of the people for the larger interest of the generality of the people. If we have this mindset, then the very first thing that we look at is the recruitment process of our leaders. We, Chamberlain, you and I, and our brother, we cannot as much as imagine that anybody can come into channels and run the station. You can't. Even as enlightened as I am, you won't like me to be the one that runs the station, because the media house is different from an architectural firm. The dynamics that operate it, there are things you will not accept, because if you put that up, it will disenfranchise your populace, those who believe in you. The same thing with government and governance. Why do we think that anybody can be a councillor? Anybody can be a governor, assemblyman, state, national, or local, or worse still, a governor or a president? There must be certain criteria that must be put in place for us to properly profile the recruitment of what you may call the CEO for the Nigeria project. Without that, we will not have a country. It's getting worse and worse and worse by the day.
Are you saying the criteria should be different from what we already have? I mean, there's a criteria for running for president, governor. I mean, there are minimum standards.
I'll tell you the criteria. Well, 3. Should have a minimum of a school set. It should be a Nigerian, and it should belong to a party. That cannot be the criteria.
But that's law.
That's law. That cannot be the criteria for you to run a country like Nigeria. We've got to wake up. Every Nigerian has to come to terms with the fact that this can no longer be the criteria. As of today, what we are clamoring is north or south. North or south. Okay? Party, APC, PDP. And we seem to have become fixated and stuck and helpless. And I'm saying, hell no. Not me. What will posterity? This country has been good to me. What will posterity, how will posterity judge me that I, knowing that that is wrong, I keep quiet and watch? And this brings us to citizenship responsibility.
Wait, is it, when you say it's wrong,
it's wrong,
is it because of the results we currently see, or because even if you change the criteria,
yes,
and you have a different set of people who are steering the ship, and you still have people from the north and the south, you can have the best of the north and the best of the south.
Thank you.
So if that happens, what's wrong with saying the best of the north and the south?
Thank you. You have qualified best of the north, best of the south. Let me give you a very little illustration. Football. No Nigerian tried to make Dangote the coach of Super Eagles. Try it. Every Nigerian, right down to the villages, they will say, no way, you can't. Abad, no. That's number one. Number two, we had our son, Samson Siasia, as the coach. Our son, a Nigerian, had to be removed and a German brought. Because why? We wanted to qualify for World Cup. The last game that qualified us, I think it was the last, that we played against Cameroon. 8 of the 11 people in the team came from the southeast or thereabout. About 8 players. We couldn't care less. Just win. There was a time that we had a Muslim ticket in this country. And a Yoruba man defeated a Kano man in Kano. That was when we said, we need to know who you are. We don't care where you come from. We need to know that you are competent, that you have the character, the capacity and capability. That is Nigeria. We are the same Nigerians. I'm not saying in the year 1904. I'm saying in your lifetime. Talk about MK or Abiola. I believe that somehow I think 2 of you must have been born around that time anyway. But what I'm saying is that this country, we are not daft. We are not stupid. We don't care where you come from. What we care is come in and embrace everybody.
So what then is, from your perspective, the challenge to addressing that process?
Yes.
Perhaps from setting that criteria.
Yes.
What is the challenge? Because we were able to get the not too young to run, change some part of that law. Why not this one?
I'll tell you this. This program, as we are talking, you'll be amazed at the number of people saying, that's true. That makes sense. Information, knowledge. People come here to give us a narrative to go by. On a daily basis, they are manufacturing narratives to distract us. But there are also Nigerians who are sitting up and saying, enough is enough. You do the same thing the same way, you get the same result. What's the result? We've become the poverty capital of the world. What is the result? The adverts in channels are no longer from corporate organizations. I've followed channels since inception. And I've been in this studio nothing less than probably 100 or 150 times. I used to see the adverts on channels.
So you're one of the highest scorers in that league.
They came from corporate organizations. They came from, different parts. Right now, those corporate organizations are almost extinct.
I'm tempted to ask when last did you watch channels, really?
I started when somebody told me you were in secondary school or primary school, something like that. Okay, but I'm just joking. What I'm saying is that if you compare what was then, channels is doing well now, but compare it to what it was then. If Dunlop has continued to be, their AGMs will be on channels. If Peugeot had continued to be, their AGM, because every corporate organization, if you can have this now, imagine if we had 100 more doing good.
So essentially you're saying that, are you saying politics is thriving more or businesses are dying? We don't
have business, we have politics.
Okay.
Even the businessmen are compelled to become politicians so that bring an alternate party and try to go to a businessman and tell him to fund you or fund an opposition. The first thing is like, oh boy, these EFCC people, if we try to support you, unless they go through the back door. The reason is that even businessmen have become politicians. And politics runs on dynamics that are against the ethics of professionalism. So it's a problem.
You're a businessman.
Yes.
You're a politician.
Yes.
As well. And
I'm a professional in politics.
Interesting. I mean, that's what you said. People always find ways to, speak good about themselves, their party, and the ideals they represent. It's only natural. But you can't rule out the role of political parties in this leadership recruitment process. I mean, the political parties throw up the candidates who eventually vie for these offices and people vote for them. But political parties are made up of people. You know how these political parties run. You belong to at least two at least in the past few years. So you've talked about leadership a lot, but you can't rule out the role of people who make up the political parties, who make up the electorate, and eventually, in fact, who make up the civil service as well. So the role of the people in all of this.
You know why I joined the National Consultative Front? I saw people in APC, people in PDP, people in ADC, people in different parties. Plateau, to the best of my knowledge, is an APC member. Galinaba, the co-chair, to the best of my knowledge, is a PDP member. I have been.
Is he still? I thought he left.
I think whatever it was. The different divides. These are people who call themselves women and men of conscience, who say, this is not good enough. So they all came together. Olisa Baguba, is a professional, you know all these people and all of them, they came together and said, can we form an alternate structure that operates on best corporate governance, whether as a party or as a political pressure body? And they're doing very well. And as at 2 days back, at least 11 of the existing 18 political parties came to my knowledge and understanding, to the understanding that we can't continue this way again. And as a result, they want to create an alternate platform. Now, the first thing that's in your mind is, how are we sure? How do we know? Will they not? And I want to appeal to Nigerians that if you have your child on the theater bed, it's not the time for you to doubt. It's for you to say, God, let it work. And then to do whatever you can to support. Last night, I was with Professor Pat Utomi, and something has been brewing that is coming up, and that's a leadership recruitment, which will be unveiled soon. And this is a platform that is going to bring every Nigerian to say, who do you think can make a good president?
What does that entail? Is it at the level of political party formation?
No, the National Consultative Front. It's like, look, we have a party that we can empty into. That's not the first thing is engage Nigerians. Who do you think? Because there are Nigerians that are amazing all over the world. These are not people who want to be, but who do you think? And we're going to have entries, I don't see it coming to less than 2,000 or so. Then we have a group of eminent Nigerians selected to sift through those lists and bring us just about 40 per geopolitical zone, which corroborates what you said before. In every geopolitical zone, there are at least 50 people eminently qualified to be president of this country. So we'll bring them together and get Nigerians, engage them for us to change the discussion from PDP, APC, north-south to competence, capacity, capability, character. When we have this national discourse, within 2-3 months, you would realize that we would have changed the narrative to who can lead this country. And that was probably the
thing about that
journey.
Is how is it going to address that? Yeah, even if that happens, the best people from there emerge on the one hand. And then you have somebody, for want of words, politician, who knows the system, the lacunas, in law, he or she can find his or her way around the place, and has a skill set. Can still go ahead because the law doesn't stop he or she from doing that. So how is this?
Look, APC can go ahead and do what they want. PDP can go ahead.
So what will then be the importance?
No. We've been able to we're working, that's why I said about 11 parties have come together to provide a platform, because without a party, you can't go anywhere. So imagine Nigerians going through the processes to say, this 1, 2, 3, 10 people are eminently qualified. They are emptied into a political platform. Nigerians have a choice. Now they have a platform. Now they have somebody that they themselves have said, this person, because it must be grassroots up, this person can be. Then let that person be pitched against APC, PDP, and let there be free, fair, credible elections, and then Nigerians will choose. Trust me, it will be the beginning of something that Nigerians, so every Nigerian should watch out.
Mark?
You've just touched on something. You said it has to be grassroots up. So I'm wondering, what's the language of engagement you're using in this drive you're pursuing?
Thank you. Extremely robust. The process is going to take a couple of weeks to months, and it's going to be translated into every possible Nigerian language. And it's going to be driven, top to bottom, to the bottommost of all, because Nigerians have come to say enough is enough. The civil societies are in with this. The religious organizations, they are in on this. Anything to give us a leadership that will meet certain basics, certain fundamentals, apart from character, competence, capacity, capability. You must be a Nigerian that is seen as a Nigerian that is for every Nigerian, north, south, east, or west. All this issue of Fulani, North, Igbo, Yoruba has to just come to an end. Paul Gagame, there are many of them in Nigeria, has to come up that is a pan-Nigerian. At that point, before even voting, I will vote for a Fulani man against an Ibibio man, where this Fulani man have been able to prove that he is a Nigerian, whereas an Ibibio man or an Anang man where I belong is said to be a tribalist. Okay? When a Nigerian comes to rule Nigeria or govern or preside over Nigeria, every section of the country will be happy, will make progress, peace will be restored, unity will be reinvented, and then we'll have a country. Look at what's going on in Jos. I mean, we all had Jos as the Europe of Nigeria because of the climate. Everybody thought young Kerry Games reserves, everything. Look at what is going on in Jos today. That can be reversed. Look at what is going on in Sambisa Forest. That forest can feed Africa. All we need is a man who understands what governance is. And I will end on this. Chapter 2, Section 14, subsection 2B of the Nigerian Constitution states that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. That will be our marching order. And that Nigeria has to come back. In my lifetime, Nigeria has to come back. And Nigerians, let me end on this. Notice the last population voting that we did, last election. We had over 80 million voters. We had less than 30 million who together voted the president. We had over 68% of Nigerians who are not interested for two reasons. Number one, choose between A and B. They don't see anything. Number two, how is the process? What they want to do is what they want to do. So we're going to stand with INEC and put pressure, highest level of pressure. We've decided there must be a credible electioneering process. There must be. We're not going to take no for anything. The president's got to sign it early enough. INEC, I have confidence, 100%, in the chairmanship of INEC. I do have. And for what he's done, yes.
How do you tell? Earlier on, you were talking about someone not being tribalistic and all.
Yes.
How do you tell for sure that this candidate will not be tribalistic, is competent enough prior to the? I mean, you've seen candidates, right? During, I mean, you've been a candidate, so let me just say this.
Yes.
They wear the different attires of the different ethnic groups. They learn the languages, and also, how can you tell an ethnic or tribalistic like person beforehand?
Okay. Is there a way? I'll tell you this. My brother, you went to secondary school. You went to university. They are your classmates that you can tell that, Ross, leave this guy. You know if you leave drink unless God appears. Do you understand me? You know, we have an idea. What we've done is always running election of here and now. You know the concept of the black sheep at night. He's next to you because there's no light. You can't tell. That's why they do electional process so that they just keep it shrouded till the last minute. They just bring people on to. We want that opened up. People know who I am. In Nigeria, there are people who can tell you one or two things about me from secondary school, from university. They can tell you who I am, whether I'm a tribalist. We know. When our president was to be, during the electionary process, go to my Facebook page. I used to be extremely critical that I don't think that this man, he's a nice person, but we all have our differences. We all have our personalities. And he's a man that is very trusting. And for you to be trusting, you go to the person you know. Okay? But corporate governance does not run on trust. It runs on certain parameters, which is where I give President Jonathan kudos when he brought Jega. He had never met him. He's like, give me his profile. Right way back 20 years. And when they gave it to him, he said, this makes sense. Appoint him INEC chairman.
All right. You know, it's always a never-ending conversation, nation building. Well, we do thank you for your perspectives, actually. Ezekiel Nyantok, DG Nigeria First Project, and you heard him as steering committee member of the National Consultative Fund. I wonder why I keep thinking about the Super League. It doesn't end like that. Thank you for covering that.
Thank you.
Do we have an email or two?
Oh, yeah.
Marco, you have something?
So we have one here. It's from Abdusalam Yusuf, and he's talking about addressing national challenges. He says, the NDA attack is unbelievable. The recent situation in Jos is disheartening and unfortunate. While all of this is going on, the lawmakers are on recess. Oops, how does that really matter? Even when they are not on recess, ordinary community state policing strategies have proven abortive for over the past 6 years. Community policing will substantially curtail these pockets of insurgencies all over the nation. It's high time our lawmakers take the bull by the horn and implement laws that will fast-track the implementation of community policing. That's from Abdusalam Yusuf.
All right, I think that's the only one we've got.
Well, I guess indeed, Chamberlain, that's the only one we have, and I think it's a fine place to leave it this morning. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Mark Yusuf.
I'm Kayode Okikelu.
I'm Chamberlain, sir. Goodbye.